Nature is one of the best design teachers. Today, we will be exploring the concepts of biomimicry and also the concept of biomorphism to explore its major influence on the way designers look at the design process. Biomimicry essentially means in design as the practice of studying and exploring the nature's forms, processes, and systems to create solutions that are efficient, sustainable, and innovative. Instead of copying how just nature looks, biomimicry seeks to understand how living organisms solve problems such as structure, movement, energy use, or climate regulation and applies those principles to human-made products. Nature does not waste material. It adapts and is resilient. It is based on specific systems and functions that it requires. The beauty is how the systems are essentially integrated in its own concepts. So, how have architects and designers explored this concept? Pietro Espinala has exploring the merging of biomimic and biomorphic concepts for its solar shading strategy in its facade through the form of a durian. Another building exploring the facade strategy in terms of a biomimic kind of exploration is a building by Herzog Meuron by the Nest, the Beijing Stadium. Antoni Gaudi is another prime example of architect who explores biomimic architecture before technology actually became prominent. His, for example, column structure inside Sagrada Familia was inspired by tree branches holding the wide spans of the roof and structure. The opportunities to explore how nature may inspire us in design is unlimited, so we need to continuously keep learning and keep researching and developing, as well as keep trying new ideas. So as part of this, let's try ourselves to test a new idea and explore one of our own design concepts. So to come up with a quick design brief, we're going to be using ChatGPT to give us a more detailed breakdown for what we want to do. In this challenge, we're designing a small canopy roof inspired by biomimicry, learning from nature's forms and functions to solve human problems. The goal isn't the perfect final design, but a quick 2-hour sprint to practice creativity, starting by finding a natural inspiration, sketch initial idea, then to develop into a simple concept, focusing on shade, structure, and lightness, and make sure the design clearly reflects how nature is inspired by it. So before jumping into the sketch, I like to explore a few different inspirations, from branching tree structures to lightweight canopies and organic patterns, looking how nature solves problems that me think about form, function, how this design might feel for someone using it. It's a quick way to get my brain moving before putting a pen to paper. So this is now a very exciting moment, which I really always enjoy, taking my sketchbook out and now starting a new, fresh, clean slate for a new exploration of my design, taking out being free with my pen and paper and seeing now what I can come up with. For this design, I took inspiration from fish scales and gills. They have this beautiful repeating pattern that's both flexible and protective. I started sketching a canopy made of overlapping triangular panels, almost like a series of scales. The idea is that these panels could shift slightly, allowing light and air to filter through naturally, creating shade while still feeling open and breathable. The triangular geometry makes it efficient and structurally sound, but also creates an interesting pattern of light and shadow as the sun moves. As I sketched, I tried to balance function and form, making sure it could actually work as a structure, while still keeping that organic, flowing feel that first caught my eye in the natural pattern. The modular system of using two triangles with one that is angled, one that is at 90 degrees, is able to be used as a modular system that is repeated, and it can create a canopy system that can be expanded or reduced. Now we have the initial idea and concept created with Sketch. Let's move into the digital form. Let's create something that's a bit more refined to explore the system, as well as how we can create this form in 3 dimensions. This we will do by putting and creating a model in Rhino. Through first creating the individual module of the 2 triangles that is then able to be repeated across a curve to create a canopy shape. As I've been modeling and creating this structure, I don't know, I start to feel like it starts to remind me a little bit of an armadillo scale shell. Similar concept in a way, looking at a fish with scales, but it does feel a little bit more aggressive, defensive. At the same time, a bit more like a fish. Yeah, it has these kind of functions of bringing this airflow essentially through, especially when thinking about the gills. And then I just looked to explore where is the best location of the nodes for the columns to be located, looking at both either side of a symmetry and more of a central line, looking at very slim steel-like columns located on the nodes where the connections happen. So now we have essentially the base of the model created. We can put it into Midjourney to explore some visualizations. So I explored in the form of looking at watercolor type style, just to get a feel of the materiality, a bit of light, and something very kind of easy to look at. Then this was explored in Google Gemini to see how taking these images that I have created for these visualizations to produce something a little bit more refined, see if the AI can understand the different perspectives I have created using the model to create a bird's eye perspective, adding some activity, adding some people, seeing how this kind of canopy can take shape in some sort of context, maybe in a city, creating like maybe there's a big open plaza and this canopy is being created to create this new kind of usable space for people, for the community essentially. So it has taken a little bit of time for Gemini to think about kind of how the images come together, as we can see, and I have to say I am surprisingly and positively impressed. I think one big difference is that it hasn't very well read the geometry of the roof of the modules like the images have been created, whereas kind of created a singular, essentially kind of like grid shell form, whereas each triangle should have this kind of opening, as we have seen in the previous image. However, if we kind of want to understand a bit of a feel, and maybe the kind of the modular system could be adapted in the visualizations, and then at the time, I think it's quite successful to create this kind of public plaza space. Thank you for joining for today's exploration and for today's topic. If you have any other ideas, please suggest in the comments, and remember to like, subscribe, and follow for more.